Media has our narrative, and in that narrative, Charlie Gray is perfectly playing the role of right-wing extremist. The stigma of that label will stop up the ears of the American public faster than any propaganda we could fashion.
And that's a clip from the upcoming film that is going to be coming out in what, November?
Yeah, roughly November.
Wow. Yeah. And is there a website for it yet?
No. We're right now. Everything is about getting the film done. We're in VFX right now. First cut's pretty much done. But we just want to give you a little taste of you.
Well, it looks really good. I remember seeing the monitors and how, because I've been in some other pretty big films with like Keanu Reeves and other folks, some Linklater films, two of them, and quite a few other little movies. I never really sought it out, but people say, hey, will you do this cameo or will you come do this? Because pretty much just playing myself. The reason I like this was it was doing something different. That's fun.
Oh, exactly. And that was,
you had it good though. You're just playing yourself. So.
it was kind of easy being angry at the system and how they're threatening our freedom is a pretty thing to get.
And again, this is Gary Haven. We've got Mike Norris here. I tell you, I mean, your dad's been on the show before via phone, and then he came out once when we were trying to stop a standoff in East Texas, and he helped kind of diffuse that with the Grays. So, I mean, I know your dad, and then I knew he was a listener even 15 years ago, but when he's been on, he goes, no, I really am a routine listener, so I'm just so flattered. But it's how many other people are aware, and it's not like I taught Chuck Norris anything. He was already a patriot before I was born. But what do you make with Jade Helm? Because I don't want to give away the film, but it almost parallels this. What do you make of Jade Helm and Senator Cruz and Representative Gohmert and Governor Abbott and all these other prominent people saying no, and Chuck Norris, no, we don't trust Obama. We don't think this is a takeover, but there shouldn't be this major domestic role. We know the military is in the news training to take on the Patriots.
Gary.
Yeah, this really is an area I've spent a lot of time. Being retired, it gives me about 6 hours a day to read and to stay up on things, and so I've enjoyed getting to know that. My company does business in 90 countries, so I've got a neat world view of events. Ukraine, for example, if you follow the script that the mainstream media has been promoting on Ukraine, you would think that Putin's this bad guy who's come into Crimea and taken it over. That script is just all wrong. The United States spent $6 billion through the State Department, Victoria Nuland, to overthrow the elected government of Ukraine. And this is all about moneyed interest. It's about bankers' interest. It's another war where we're going to send our kids and our treasure to go protect the assets of Monsanto and the oil companies and the central bankers. And I was having this discussion at dinner with the governor and Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz, a few weeks ago. And I was actually vetting Ted Cruz. I was really hopeful. We've got a guy that's going to stand up to these moneyed interests that are controlling our government. And I was really hopeful that he was on our side. Now, I knew that Ted Cruz's wife was a vice president for
Goldman Sachs.
Goldman Sachs, and also that she's a member of the Council of Foreign Relations. And, it puts him under suspicion. But we had it wasn't a discussion. In fact, I'll tell you how it went. He kind of talked to the 6 or 8 people at the table about why we need to be there, why we need to send our kids there, and I kept my mouth shut. And when it was my turn to speak, I started the conversation like this. I said, Senator, I know you're a Harvard Law School graduate who's argued in front of the Supreme Court. I may regret what I'm about to say. And I gave the true view of the Ukraine over about 10 minutes. In fact, it was so heated, I turned to the governor and I said, are you going to invite me back? And he did. And I think he got to hear the truth in front of the two of us challenging each other. And I got to tell you, I won the debate with Ted Cruz because I had the truth on my side, and I was fully informed.
That's the one thing I don't like about him is that he is supporting starting a war with the Russians. It doesn't mean Putin's a good guy. It's just that you don't overthrow an elected government and put neo-Nazis in charge so Joe Biden's son can run a gas company.
Exactly. This thing stinks so bad that and it's a great example of the control the mainstream media has on the information's out there and on who controls the mainstream media. You know, the American people, again, it goes back to critical thinking. We really need to quit. You can't just think these people are stupid. You know, going and poking a stick at a nuclear power, Russia, is just not a good idea. And yet they're doing it in Syria, they're doing it in Iran, they're doing it in the Ukraine. And you always ask the question, quo bono? Who's benefiting from this? If you ask that question, you can get to the bottom of a lot of things.
That's right. And these aren't generals. These are bankers that think they're invincible and insulated because they got 15 helicopters. No, when nuclear war breaks out, it's over.
It's insane. And this all comes from the Wolfowitz Doctrine, which came out in the 90s from Paul Wolfowitz, the Secretary of Defense, when he said that we have to maintain hegemony. We have to be the most powerful, the only powerful country on the planet. And if any other countries begin to threaten our power, we have to annihilate them. And I'll tell you what, we don't have the means. We should not be trying to dominate the world and force, you know, our views on the world. We're going to.
Well, I mean, we're not even putting American views. We're like trying to make Russia teach 5-year-olds about gay marriage.
Yeah.
I mean, Putin's like saying, you're not Christian. We're being lectured by Vladimir Putin, who like is trying to put Christianity back in schools. We've taken it out. I mean, this is really getting upside down.
It's crazy. And again, you know, this is happening at such a large scale that our voices are these quiet cries in the night. But truth is a powerful thing. We have truth on our side, and we have to have the courage to speak it. I believe I was given the opportunity to speak truth to power, whether it's Senator Ted Cruz or whether it's the governor. I spent 9 hours with George W. Bush.
This is Gary Haven speaking, the founder of the Curves, one of the most successful, according to Forbes, franchise in history. He's made billions of dollars, and he's here now trying to fight the globalists. Go ahead.
Yeah. You know, and I
said you were meeting with George Bush.
I took him to Haiti in my aircraft. 4 hours there, 4 hours back. Just him and I sitting talking. So I've had the opportunity to really speak truth to power on so many different levels. I was a major Republican donor because I thought that by supporting conservative Republicans that I could influence good government. Well, I've given up on that. The Republican Party has given themselves over through the establishment.
Well, look how they're pushing the TPP right now that they won't even let Congress see. They're helping Obama beat the Republicans. It's incredible.
That's a great example. And again, this is where you and I have a responsibility. You know, this Trans-Pacific Partnership is not available to the general public. It's being kept secret. This is insane. In this, we think from leaks that corporations are going to be given power to sue governments and when governments interfere with their profitability. Well, and we're not allowed to see this as witnesses. The American people should be up in arms over the audacity of our government. And I tell you, the Republicans are pushing this as hard as Obama is. A set of laws that's going to totally change our society. We're not even allowed to look at it. Where is the outrage over our loss of freedoms over this issue? It's the whole thing right now is crazy. But this Jade Helm in our movie is it talks about things like the National Defense Authorization Act, which the Republican Party supported, that gives the president the ability to declare martial law for any reason, economic or otherwise, without approval of Congress. And under martial law...
That's right. Those executive orders and PDDs are all in the books. It's been in the news. You can just search Obama signs executive order to take over entire economy and during any emergency, including economic. They've put internet kill switches in. They've got NDAA. It's all there. They say their main enemies, Christians and veterans and gun owners. I mean, this is crazy. And Chuck Norris reads it, and Louis Gohmert reads it, and Senator Cruz reads it, and Ron Paul reads it, and you read it. And it's not, I mean, we're just telling people they're building this huge tyrannical program, and then they misrepresent what we all say.
Well, our movie was a chance to provide an entertaining venue where we demonstrate and educate what 13603 executive order actually does, where the president can take all of your resources. I'm a farmer and rancher. They can come and take my tractors. They can come and take my property, my land. They can come and take me and force me to work without wages. And if you read 13603, it's very, very clear. Well, we talk about this in the movie, and then we demonstrate it. We show how the UN is going to side with the American Army and come in and arrest dissidents.
And by the way, that's, as you know, been in the Washington Post that they're going to use UN troops during civil disturbance in America.
Yeah, it's all out there.
I mean, we read, you're a billionaire company guy, smart guy that's founded companies. You've made all these top films. I've built my own media system. It's not like we're total idiots and we just make stuff up. I mean, it's all right here. I mean, this is what's going on. And the thing is, it's not like we're being conquered by the Romans or something. They're going to put aqueducts in. We're being conquered, and I'm not saying the Romans were good, by the globalists that are anti-human, Malthusian, exterminist, basically Satanist. And so that's the real problem, is we're being conquered by some really nasty people.
You know, there's three things that people ought to get a hold of. The first thing is that that the power in Washington has been bought and paid for by moneyed interest. There is no representation of the people. And I could prove this. Princeton University just finished a study and analyzed what influence do the average individual voters have on the policies of the U.S. government. And Princeton University said zero. They said that the average voter, the average person has no influence.
That's a special interest coup d'etat.
Yep. And the interest is the people that provide the money to Washington. And we're talking about the pharmaceutical industry, the industrial security complex. We're talking about the bank.
Oh, now you're anti-troops. Oh, Eisenhower warned too. Oh, I guess he's bad. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, you know, mentioning that, I think the greatest thing we can do to support our troops is to keep them out of wars that they have no business being in.
Exactly. Why did we arm Al-Qaeda, the Free Syrian Army? Now they're ISIS. The CIA did. Now the Army has to go fight them.
Good question. So we've got to recognize that we have no influence in Washington. Everybody's been bought and paid for. And I've spoken this to my senators, and I've spoken this to my congressmen.
What did Ted Cruz say when you said that?
Ted Cruz, like the guy, but I vetted him, and I don't trust him. I believe that he's given himself over to the elite, to the establishment, and in fact, you know, we can't go into all that. But the only guy I've got any hope for right now is Rand Paul, and I've met Rand Paul. I've talked to Rand Paul.
Tell me about. I mean, I know him as well. Known him for 20 years. Tell me but I haven't talked to him in years. Tell me what you got from meeting with him.
I'll tell you two things. The first thing is that I'm convinced that he's the son of his father. And I'm a big fan of his father.
That's why they hate him. They know he's for real.
Yeah. But the other thing is he's also smart, and he's staying in the middle to stay electable.
And they know he's doing that.
So I believe that if he gets elected by staying in the middle, that he'll be the son of his father when he's in power.
And that's exactly what the Atlantic and the New York Times and others say. They know, they've had his phones tapped. They know the whole deal. He's his dad.
Yeah.
And just as good. A patriot. And they hate his guts. That's why I think Rand Paul is the best. Quite frankly, Ted Cruz is probably slicker and would be better than Hillary Clinton. I mean, you know, I don't think Ted Cruz is a bad guy, but I think he's just compromised at the highest levels, kind of with that Republican power structure. The Mitch McConnells right now that are trying to sign us on a TPP.
It's insane. But, you know, Alex, and I think you'd agree with me, there's not going to be a political solution to this problem. The only solution is if enough people wake up and begin to think. They begin to critically think and begin to pursue truth and invest the time and effort.
You told me you've developed a plan, and you're a guy that set up more franchises in the world than anybody ever has, even more, I guess, more than McDonald's. I mean, you know, the most successful franchise ever. So you know how to organize things. Boy, I don't. Wish I did. Explain to me, a great thing, my crew's starting to get good at it. But how would you organize, simply put, a way to take things back? Because I just organically know if we expose the tyranny, the fraud of the system, there'll be enough people in the system that basically leak the truth that it comes down. But I was kind of wrong, because now we just know we're slaves, and the globalists are sitting there pointing a gun at us going, yeah, okay, I took over. I mean,
You know, I think the message has to be fairly simple. And that's where this is so complex. You know,